Today's webinar is on running a class with Zoom. And before taking this class, you should already have an account with Zoom and have a basic understanding of how to schedule and start a meeting. If you are brand new to Zoom, please see our Getting Started with Zoom video. Today we're going to cover using the waiting room, the gallery versus speaker view, muting and unmuting participants, some options for nonverbal communication, the chat feature, how to share other applications, ending a meeting, and then we'll cover some other resources and tips and tricks. And so I am going to share with you a video on a class that I held earlier today. And what I wanted to point out is that we have used and set up the waiting room. So all of our students are in the waiting room, and I'm going to admit them all when I am ready to start the class. There we go.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Oh wait, I can't hear you.
Okay, so part of our settings that we set up was that everybody enters on mute, and that's especially useful if someone enters late. This way they're not coming in and disrupting the class. But I can unmute everybody with a single click.
That's better. How's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I was actually watching The Voice last night.
Oh really?
It's so good. Oh yeah, I saw that episode.
All right, let's get back. We're going to start the class now. All right, I'm going to have to mute everybody. Sorry about that.
She was.
Okay, so we can unmute and mute everybody with a single click, which is going to be useful sometimes. Okay, and I want to point out this pop-up window. Take a look at this right now. I'm not going to make any changes, but we'll talk about this a little later on.
Yeah, like John Ribeiro.
Okay, that's better. So going forward, yes, sorry, I had to mute everybody. Why don't you use the raise your hand feature, which is under the participants icon at the bottom.
Okay, so let's talk about that participants icon. Once you start the class, this panel on the right-hand side that's labeled participants is not visible to you, but it's accessible by clicking on this icon at the bottom of the screen that says Manage Participants, and that window will pop up and allow you to admit everybody. Also, you see this chat window in the lower half of the screen here. That's accessible by clicking on this chat icon down here, okay? And in the video, I'm talking about the raise your hand option, which you won't see as the host or presenter, but your students will see that. They will have that available to them. So let's keep going.
Screen, if you have any questions going forward. So does anyone, I can see Jana has a question. Jana, yes, what's your question?
Okay, so everyone's muted. You see that Jana's hand was raised. You can see that at the top of the screen on her image. It's also before I hovered over her name, it was visible there as well. So now I went through and I unmuted her first, and now I am lowering her hand. Okay, and now we're going to let Jana ask her a question.
Did you guys see Kelly Clarkson's hair?
Sorry, Jana, I'm going to have to mute you.
Okay, so clearly, Jana wasn't on topic, so I muted her again, and we're going to continue the class.
So, unless I call on you directly, why don't we use the yes or no response buttons, okay? That'll make things easier for me to see what's going on. So, does anyone remember where we left off yesterday with differential equations? Let's see.
So now I'm taking a poll.
Very good. Nobody remembers.
Okay, so you can see this is a good way to gauge, understanding in the class. You can ask folks if everybody's getting it. There are other methods here too. So, kids can ask you to slow down or speed up. You can play with that functionality as well. And you can see we got a message in here from Gabriella who doesn't know what differential equations are at all.
And what are differential equations? clearly I made quite the impression yesterday. So let me clear the
So if you see, I can clear all these responses so that we can reset and continue the class.
responses, and I am going to share some material.
Okay, so sharing materials, you saw that I just clicked on that icon at the bottom of the screen, and now it brings up a window to show me applications that I can share with the class.
On differential.
Okay, one thing I want to point out here is that you can allow the entire desktop to be shared, so everything on your desktop will be shared. And as you navigate through the different applications, the students will be able to see that. You may or may not want that. Or you can select, as I am doing here, a single application. And so the participants, the students, will only be able to see this application.
Equations. Here we go. Okay, very good.
Now, so you can see we've switched over. We're looking at another screen on differential equations. And if you look up in the upper right, all we're seeing right now is a single student who was the last student to speak. So that's the speaker view. So I'm going to change that right now and make that a gallery view, which is going to let me see all of the students' faces as we continue.
I see Marina has a
Okay, and so what you can see is that we can see all of the students here, and it takes up some real estate on the screen, so you can minimize that. There's an option to minimize that, and you can expand it as necessary. So if you want to take in a checkpoint, you can see everybody's faces and see how they're doing. And you can see that we have another question that's coming in, and you see that on this image, on this view, and we can address those questions.
question. Let me unmute Marina.
Hi, I actually have a question. I wasn't here yesterday, and I was wondering if you uploaded the video yet.
Yes, Marina, if you had checked your emails, you would see that I uploaded the video to the network. Okay, so make sure you're checking your emails daily, everybody. Okay.
All right, so we were able to address her question, lower her hand, and move on.
Very good. So here we are. We're looking at differential equations, and as you can see, Dr. Khan knows a lot more about differential equations than I do because I've forgotten nearly everything that I've learned. Marina, could you please mute yourself? I can hear those papers rustling.
Sorry about that.
Yep, no worries. Okay.
All right, it didn't come through as well on this video, but oftentimes, there's a lot of background noise, and we can ask the students to mute themselves, or you can go ahead and mute them. Uh, the thing that I wanted to point out is that her image is highlighted as the one where the noise is coming from. So it's easy to see, and you can mute that person, or you can ask them to mute themselves.
Gabriella, could you please pick up with the this equation right here and tell us, what's going on here? Gabriella? Gabriella? Clearly she's not paying attention. We're going to put her into the waiting room. See, she should see something on her screen that tells her we've kicked her out of the class for a few minutes.
Okay, so I just wanted to show that functionality that you can move people into and out of the waiting room if necessary. So that's available to you.
Okay, as I mentioned, Dr. Khan knows a lot more about differential equations than I do. So I'm going to send this link out to everybody and want you to watch this video. Let me check back on Gabriella, see if she is back paying attention here. Let's see. Apparently not. She is still in the on her phone. All right, well, I am going to stop sharing. I will send the link out to everybody.
One thing I want to show here, and I'm going to back up to do that, is that the controls are available to you that were available to you before you started sharing are still available to you, but they are hidden at the top of your screen. And so as you move your mouse to the top of the screen, they become visible and accessible. and so this allows us to to control the class and to stop sharing, which you'll see in a minute, and also to, as I said, we checked on the student that we placed into the waiting room. So let me let this continue.
If she is back paying attention here. Let's see. Apparently not. She is still in the on her phone. All right. Well, I am going to stop sharing. I will send the link out to everybody, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, one thing I want to point out right there is that
Well, I am going to stop sharing. I will send the link out to everybody, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, so here, when you end the meeting, this pop-up shows up, and you have an option. You can end the meeting for everybody, which is normally going to be the case. But if you are doing some team teaching, you may want to leave the meeting, okay, and leave the teaching to someone else. So in that case, you will want to you allow your co-teacher set them up as the host before leaving the meeting. Otherwise, you will end the meeting for everybody. You'll end the class for everybody. Okay. Okay. So we covered all of these different features, and that's how you run a classroom. There are other functionalities that are available to you. Um, other pieces that I wanted to cover in this class that got some feedback from people that have been using the application. You can set up a virtual background, so you can select an image to be a background as opposed to what you're actually in front of. And it's possible. We have seen cases where someone has used an offensive image, and so it's up to you whether you want to let that happen or not, or let them use a virtual background, and you can manage that in the settings of your meeting, which we covered in the first webinar. Also, renaming. So if you decide not to share your video, uh, there's a box shows up with your name in it, and it's assigned to you based on your email address. And students can rename themselves. Now, we've heard that there are some students that have renamed themselves, turned their video off, and so now the teachers don't know who they are. Okay, great. One way around this is to ask your students to upload a picture of themselves. And what will happen is once they upload a picture of themselves, when they turn that video off, then you see their picture. So you at least know who they are, and they can't play games with you. So this is just an image from St. Columkills, a class that I was able to sit in on earlier today, where this is a gallery view. This is what it's going to look like when you have many more students. And we use the interactive features that were available within Zoom for the nonverbal communication, and that might be fine for some of the older kids, but you can still have them raise their hands or do something. And this is a tradition that they have in their classroom that I thought was nice to share with everybody. So it's a great way for people to communicate, using nonverbal communication. You don't have to have everybody talking at once. The other thing I wanted to point out is when I muted everybody, I pointed out this little pop-up box that showed up. And this box here was checked. And if you leave that checked, then the students can unmute themselves when they want to ask a question. It's up to you how you want to manage your classroom. If you uncheck this, then you control when they are unmuted, okay? So that when you want to ask them a question, you want some feedback, then you can unmute them individually, or mute and unmute them all at the same time. Okay, another tip, practice. Your fellow teachers and each of you set up a meeting and work with the different functionality and test it out. And this is our CSO team meeting earlier today, and this will help you to get a hang of running a classroom. Additionally, on the Zoom website itself in the Help Center, there are a lot of tutorials and lots of information that you may want to take advantage of, and I highly recommend using this site. I found it very helpful. Finally, here's some additional information. You can, find the experts in your midst. Someone in your school, other teachers that maybe using this and other tools, and reach out to them. Ask them how they're doing it, and ask them for help. That'll help move you forward much faster. I will be holding office hours soon, so look for a link to sign up for office hours in the daily newsletter that's been going out. You can reach out to me directly, and I will be happy to walk you through some things personally. And These are my daughters that were in the video who volunteered some of their time today to help me out to create that video. So thank you very much, everybody, and good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.